GVN presents Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Today's binge:
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Welcome once again to another edition of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we're here once again talking Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we are up to episode 9, as I have always been. I believe it's something like that.
As I have always been.
And we got a lot to talk about that episode because, quite frankly, we believe it was probably the best episode of the season. And quite frankly,
and
one of the best episodes that they've done. But we'll get into that after, as always, we'll start out with giving my lovely wife a chance to talk about whatever she wants to talk about. And that means it's your turn, my dear.
Wonderful. Well, I tell you what. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Jeffrey again. And I hate to keep bringing him up and talking about... Yeah, well, I keep talking about him because, you know, he has a lot of... things to talk about. First of all, he's dramatic, and he likes.
You know where he gets that from?
Not me. But anyway, he's something else. Though. Anyway, today, Friday, we went to the doctor with him because it was time to get to the doctor with him, and so we did. And he's 5'9" and weighs 160 pounds. I can't believe it. He's a giant. I'm 5'4".
See, they killed their because I'm 5'8". He's an inch taller, and they would tell me that I should weigh like that. I passed that 160 pounds about 70 pounds ago. But
100 pounds for me. Yeah.
But he's doing great health wise.
He's awesome. And they gave him shots, which I thought, oh my God, this is going to be fun. And it was so good. The nurse was awesome. She lifted up his shirt, bang, bang one side, went over the other side, bang. He didn't know what happened. He had a Band-Aid on before he knew what was going on. It was fantastic. She was wonderful.
Of course, it also helps that he has a really conservative high threshold of pain.
That he does.
But he's still not a big fan of people sticking him with
not at all
needles. But of course, I wasn't there, so I'm just.
He did great, and I gotta be honest with you. I was super nervous about taking him, and the funny thing of it was that the doctor, his doctor, Dr. Christine Salskar, who is just really awesome, and I love her to death. She remembered that he had escaped when I brought him the last time. I had to go by myself because Martin was at work and he couldn't get there in time. And she remembered that, and she told the nurse to please escort us and make sure that we all had a hand on Jeffrey so that he wouldn't get away from us. So anyway, we did, and they did, and it was great, and he was really awesome, and it was just a good day. It was a good day for
it also
Jeffrey.
Didn't hurt, of course, because her office used to be halfway across the universe.
Yeah, we had to go all across town, and it took close to 40 minutes to get there. And now it's a 15, 20-minute ride over there, which is way nicer. Like that better.
One last thing. Of course, Regis Philbin just passed away.
Yes.
Regis Philbin was one of the many hosts that did the Walt Disney parades.
Yes,
that our son is so
either the Easter parades or the Christmas Day parades with Kelly Ripa usually.
Right, and Jeffrey, of course, watches those all
constantly.
The time. So he was quite familiar with
Regis Philbin, but he'd call him Regis Philnuts. Because that's just the way it is.
It was funny because he would say Kelly Ripa without a problem. All the women's names without a problem.
Phil Nuts.
No matter how many times I tried to get him to say it correctly, it was always Regis Phil Nuts.
Yeah, but it was really so. When he passed away, my heart sank into my gut, and I was like, "Oh, that's so sad." And then I got a little smile on my face because of the way Jeffrey pronounces his name, and I thought it was quite cute. But anyway, that's that. Okay, on we go, and I digress. And let's get on with this episode. Holy cow!
Okay, so just
didn't mean to blast all your eardrums out, but wow.
Okay, so initial thoughts on the episode.
Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of Groundhog Day, so this was just Groundhog Day with my favorite TV series. So whatever, I was just the 2 thumbs up. And wow.
Of course, the thing that was kind of fun about it is there's plenty of comedic stuff going on in this because of the repetition.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it was also high drama because they were getting ready to die if they didn't figure out the problem. And of course, the episode started out right where the one from last week ended, which was Yo-Yo grabbed the part out, thought they fixed the jump drive, and it kicked back up again. And they jumped again.
Mm.
But now they're stuck in this time loop.
Right.
Though at first only Daisy and Phil
know that this is happening because I think it's because they're both they both have alien DNA. But hey,
Phil said,
and he thinks it's because they're both in cyberspace.
Well, he said that was just one of the many theories they discussed every time they kept repeating the loop. So anyway, the episode starts out with Daisy rising up out of her healing pod because she had just went back in it last episode.
Right.
And of course, when she gets up, Sousa's sitting there napping in the chair, watching over her. I don't know how much watching he's doing when he's sleeping. But anyway, so her boots hit the ground and it wakes him up. So he's asking, where are you going? You're supposed to be resting. So she goes, checks out, comes to find out. Deke tells her they're in a time storm. And
Mac gets burnt in the face.
Right, gets his face burnt from a radiation spike. Gemma mentions that the radiation levels are climbing. Here comes Deke in to tell him, hey,
we're in a time loop.
Right, said that time I don't concern anyone, but we're in a time storm.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, time storm.
Right.
Sorry. That's a time loop.
So anyway, at that point, as you said, Mac gets his face burned, so they take him in to see Gemma. And Gemma's going in there to get something out of the drawer to take care of Mac, and you can see a bottle of Deke's cologne that I think that's the cologne that he made for themselves when he was in the rock band.
Mm-hmm, the Rico Suave.
She called it his tools. I'm not sure. So anyway, so they're trying to take care of him, and they jump again. Next thing you know, Daisy's back in the healing pod again, the healing pod again. And of course, she's still a little confused by it, but then as they do repeat those same events, she's saying, I think we've done this before, but she knows enough to stop Mac from getting burnt. She closes the door to keep Mac from getting his radiation burn. But then here comes Deke, and she goes, we got a time storm. He said, well, you took the words right out of my mouth. He said, okay. So then basically they're just starting to repeat events. Eventually, she goes and wakes Coulson up. And she goes, I think there's something wrong. I think I'm looping time. And he goes, yeah, well, how long did it take you to realize that this time? Right. And he's getting a little irritated because...
well, every time she dies, then he has to retell her the whole thing.
Right, and that's the other thing he said to her, every time...
She stopped dying.
Right, every time you die, she goes, I died? I was like, plural? Said, yes, and every time you do, I have to tell you everything that went on.
So try not to die.
Right. It said, and could you not go ahead and make sure you come wake me up because it's irritating. Because who has to tell you this stuff? This guy. So anyway, so basically they realize they're in the time loop and they need to figure a way out of it. But every time they're trying to make progress in it, the time resets and they have to do it again.
Right.
And apparently they've been trying different things, but none of them seem to work. And of course, if on those events that she dies, it all goes blank again. It's sort of like the 30-second Tom or whatever it is.
10-second
Tom, right, where she has to start all over again.
51st States. That's another one.
So eventually they start learning, and I think some of the funny stuff is like when Daisy wakes up and goes in there, she starts just calling off what's going to happen, including what Yo-Yo, of course, has got her powers back now, talks about,
she's already here.
Right, she's from the Quinjets. So she goes, hey, it's me. I'm already there. So eventually, Daisy's sitting there saying the words at the same time she says them, and they're all looking at her like, what's... See, and this was the part of the episode that I thought was interesting, is that when she realized she was doing the time loop,
right?
She told
them... Are we talking about Daisy?
Daisy, right. Yeah. And she tells the rest of the team about it. no one sits there and says, "You crazy?" They just they just buy right in and say, "Okay, what do we do?" And I think that has to do with the fact, of course, they've been together so long, they pretty much trust each other.
Right.
So they realize that, generally speaking, you're not going to steer us wrong about what you're saying.
Now, curiously, now that we're none of them know. None of them know that this is happening.
Right. Until she tells them.
Right, and every time it happens, though,
they still don't know until she tells them again. So, what was your?
Nothing. I was gonna talk about something that we're gonna talk about later. That's fine.
Okay, so now Coulson, when he's describing her about the loop, he describes it like a record skipping, and she's staring at him like he's got 3 heads, and
because she doesn't know what a record
right. He says, "Hey, your vinyl is coming back. You should know this stuff." So anyway, he says, and every time when he told her that she had died, he said, "You give me the exact same reaction." Which was, "I died?" He said, "Is it plural?" And so if we could skip some of this stuff where I don't have to keep repeating myself, we'd be better off. So
and Gemma, every single time that they talk about getting the thing out of her head, that she says it exactly the same way.
Right. So, okay.
Let's just get this over with.
Right. Well, and
let's just get this over with. Never mind.
I
see. This is why I was going to say that. I was bound to determine this when I'm slamming on the desk again. But I was bound to determine this time that I wasn't going to just go, that's right, and so now this is what we get. Me jumping in and going ahead and
you're not that far ahead because
all right.
They're once they find out they're in the, no, that's all right. Once they find out they're in the time loop, they asked Deke and said, "Okay, do you know, did Fitz leave anything behind telling us about the jump drive? Is there anything we can fix?" He said, "Well, I'm not sure," because he knows about Gemma's implant.
Right,
none of the rest of them do. He said, "Let me check. It's kind of hard to access." So he leaves to talk to Gemma. Well, unbeknownst to him, Daisy and Coulson basically follow him. So when she's talking about the implant, they come in and say, "Well, hey, the implant, maybe this might be something we need to know about." And he swore, "I did not tell him." He said, "You guys followed me?" He said, "Yeah, but we're kind of in a life and death situation. I don't think we need to be having any secrets now." So they told him about the implant, and Gemma asked Daisy, "So I mean, how can you prove to me this is really happening?" And she tells him, "Okay." She tells her, "Okay, make up a word and just say it out loud, and we'll see." So she says, "Phlebotomum." Now, and of course, I thought, that's really cute, but of course, this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm thinking, okay, so what does that mean? So I look it up, and sure enough, what phlebotomum is basically an imaginary device that they use for television to explain something, and they're hoping that the audience doesn't really care explanations about what it is, just accept that that's what it is, and that's what phlebotomum is.
It's not a device.
It's imaginary. Yeah, it's an imaginary thing. They just made it up.
That's what I mean. It's
an imaginary device. It's in the definition.
Okay.
Just say it. Why isn't it a device? What's wrong?
I just thought it was more of like an imaginary thing that means.
Right. Well,
not necessarily a device, but
no, it's just.
But I get your device. I get what you're saying.
Right. That's the term for it, even if they don't call it phlebotomum.
Thing. Right. I got you. What you're saying.
Right.
Babe.
But anyway, so when they
really anything, is it?
What's that?
I said it's not really anything, is it?
No, it's not really anything.
It's imaginary.
Right.
Okay, go on, please. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Cut this part out. I am not. This is just cut it out. Cut this part out. This part right here.
Between the pencils and the erasers?
Right there.
You realize that won't be being cut out now.
Kill it!
Okay, yeah, I understand why he's dramatic. I don't understand. Okay, so anyway, because, she proves to them that, this is the loop is the thing, she goes, "Okay, so what can I do to help?" So, "Well, we're going to need to remove your implant to see if we can get you to remember how to fix the drive." She goes, "Well, okay," and the one good way to look at it is if we remove it, when we do our next time loop, it'll be right back in there again. So she goes, "Okay," so she gets the device that she has to use to remove it, and it's key coded where only she can tell it to allow her to remove her implant. And she's in the lab, sitting in the lab all by herself, and they're watching through a window. So she starts to do it, and she starts to cough. And she goes, "Okay, wait a minute, okay, here we go, do it again." And she starts to do it, starts to cough again, and basically she collapses to the ground, dies. Gemma dies, and they're all staring at what's going on here. So they loop again, and this time they do the same thing, but this time Daisy says, I'm going to go in there with you.
Right.
They said, what? You mean we've done this before? Yeah, and this time I'm going to be in there with you. So they go into the lab and do it again, and this time Daisy's going to do it. And Daisy said, okay, so how do I do this? She goes, well, I really don't know. I've never done it before. So she goes, okay, good, great. So when she starts to do it, Gemma starts to cough again. And this time Daisy starts to cough again.
And they're both down.
Right, and so they're trying to get in there, and Daisy hits the door right before she dies. So both Gemma and Daisy are dead. And Enoch goes in there and said, they're both dead. So then he can figure out, why was the door locked? And then he notices there's a cut hose or something, a pipe or hose. He said this was done on purpose. So someone is trying to basically prevent anyone from removing the device out of Gemma's neck. So now they're playing Clue, trying to figure out who caused it. Said, well, the obvious choices should be probably Deke, Gemma, and Enoch.
Right.
And they say, well, and of course Coulson's going, well, Gemma, you keep dying, so that pretty much eliminates you as a suspect.
Gemma's dying. Daisy's dying.
Right. So that leaves Deke and Enoch. And of course they're saying, well, you know, if we don't solve this problem, we die. Why would we want to kill anybody to prevent us from being saved?
Right.
She goes, well, okay, well, we're going to keep on working, trying to solve this, to find the solution. So in the meantime, Coulson's there, you know, again talking to Daisy, trying to figure out, so what's going on? He said, you know, I don't like watching you guys die.
Right.
So then they get into like a little philosophical discussion. He said, because it hurts me to watching people die. He said, and I realize that because the way I am now, that's exactly what's going to happen anyway. It's kind of going to be my life now. Eventually, all you people are going to die, and I'm going to be there to see it. And why? Because someone made me and decided that that's something I needed to do. Okay, so, and basically Coulson is saying that I'm programmed. And he's sitting there thinking, then he realizes who it is that's doing it.
Right.
And that would be Enoch. He said, so they go back to talk to Enoch, and he's saying that they're all in the same room again where they was going to take out her implant. Said that we believe that you're the one who's trying to do this. And he goes, why would I do that? I like all you people. I wouldn't try to kill you. So I don't think it's your fault per se. I think, you know,
once you realize that this is happening, then you go into this mode.
Right. So you guys were together, you know, before this all happened, and obviously there's something you were trying to protect, really big. You're trying to protect, which is why you put the implant in Gemma, and you're willing to kill to protect that secret, whatever it is. Said, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to remove the implant, and if I'm wrong, and this won't bother you at all, we'll remove the implant. Of course, the minute they start to do it, he goes in the killer robot mode and grabs Daisy by the throat. And of course, they're all going, "Hey, what are you doing?" And especially Gemma said, "Why are you doing that?" He said, "Because you programmed me to protect the implant at all costs." And what that meant, if I had to kill somebody, even if I had to kill you to do it. So of course, once they got that out of him, Daisy blasts her with her powers. And he realizes what he does, and he's just sitting there laying on the ground, but oh dear. So they now know, well, what's causing it. But so the problem is they're going to need to remove the implant without
by keeping him sidetracked, so he doesn't know what's going on.
Without Enoch being aware, because the minute he's aware, he goes into killer robot mode.
Right. Which this is the other thing that I was a little bit weirded out by, I guess is the best thing to say, is that why does Enoch not, because he's not a human either, even though he's in this time loop, why isn't he like Daisy and Coulson?
They don't, other than to this point, I don't remember any of them really even talking to him about it. Right? You would think that he would be just as aware of them as them,
right?
As what was going on, but for some reason or another, up to that point, they never even discussed it with him.
And I'm not bothered by. Well, good thing they didn't discuss it with him. Maybe he would have remembered it, and then they would have never got it out. But anyways, but then they did do it, and then they did loop again.
Okay.
But anyway, who cares? You know what? That would have just screwed everything up anyway. So hey, I'm fine with that. Let's move on.
Okay,
I
so
hate to keep bringing up things that are
no, it's okay.
might be
So
logical.
this is the problem they are having now, which is somehow they want to get the implant out without Enoch realizing it's happening and stopping them.
Right.
And they go through a whole bunch of different loops where Enoch does find out and basically
He kills them all.
He's killing them. First he takes
or
out
names them, or whatever.
and that's the part I'm not sure because there's a number of times where they're sitting there talking to each other.
Yes.
They can't possibly be dead when
No,
they're talking.
they're just like,
But
okay,
obviously
who's dead?
beat the crap out of it.
Well, they made sure they killed Deke off one time.
See, I'm glad you said that because that was to me one of the funny things because even as actors, they've always given Jeff Ward a little hard time as he plays Deke. They love picking on him.
Yeah, I think because he's probably a good sport about it. Because it's no fun to pick on. Well, it's sometimes it's fun to pick on people who are a good sport about being picked on, and sometimes it's even more fun to pick on people that aren't a good sport about it.
So one of their time loops where basically Enoch takes them all out because they start out with just Daisy and Coulson, and he beats them up. So they're like, okay, we're going to need more people. So they try it with Coulson, Daisy, and Jim up. So he leaves Jim alone, but beats them up. She goes, well, and what she had told him when they tried that loop was that I need you to forgo an order that I gave you. But she didn't realize that there was a password involved in that, and of course she can't remember the password. Right. So of course he beats up Daisy and Coulson. So they said, okay, we need more people. So they bring in the whole bunch of them, and he beats them all up, and he kills Deke. He shoots him in the head. And, of course, Sousa's going, where'd you get all those weapons? And they said, I think Deke's dead. And Max said, should we be upset about that? I said, come on, that's wrong.
I know he wanted to just go, come on, you should be upset about it.
Right. It said, but... and again, it's all kind of part and parcel of the fact that they like to tease Jeff Ward anyway. So with each loop, they're trying different things to get past Enoch, but they can't seem to do it. And then the one time that they just about did it, they ran out of time. So, of course, it re-looped again. So eventually what they end up doing is they found a way to basically get Mac, May, Yo-Yo, and Sousa to get him into a chamber on his own where they knew he was going to get past them. So, but we're going to try to make it hard on you. So while you're fighting us, we're going to get the implant out. And they do. They get the implant out, and she immediately starts remembering. Of course, if you remember from previous episodes when we've talked about it, the implant is in there to basically protect Fitz. Is to keep her from remembering where Fitz is, so the Chronocoms don't know where Fitz is.
Right.
Now, see, and of course that brings up another thing. I mean, basically, other than Sybil, there really are no Chronocoms left. So I'm not sure exactly.
Everybody got blown up.
Right. So I'm not sure what danger.
Well, see, they were building them. They were building those, like number 5 is alive,
right?
Robot things, to kind of be the primitive.
I mean, they were basically using them as hunters.
Yeah.
The night before, but again, they took care of those too. So I'm not sure unless she's been busy building new ones. But anyway, so that was the reason why she had the implant. So they removed the implant, and she's starting to remember, and she tells them that the solution to their problem is a part that is in Enoch. She gives the name, but I didn't notate the.
It looks very much like Tony Stark's thing that he puts in his chest.
Kind of. I mean, from the side.
Yeah.
But basically, she told him that that would regulate the jump drive. But the only problem is, it's like taking out a human's heart. If we take that out, Enoch will die. So.
Isn't this the same thing they hooked him up to the monolith that made the thing?
Well, basically, like I said, in this case, I don't know if that was that, but basically he used his own battery.
Right.
And that one he hooked himself up to, and so it's not the first time that he's
sacrificed
himself. Okay, so anyway, so they find this information out, and right before they jump, Gemma starts doing Elizabeth Henstridge's crying, which is hard to watch because everyone knows how to cry.
I'm gonna tell you what, I can't take her and Fitz crying every time. It just kills me.
Said so, and of course, all she was sitting there saying is, What have I done?
Yeah.
Oh no! And of course they do the jump. So,
Right.
okay, so, but now Daisy knows what they need to do.
Right.
So she basically comes in, tells them it's all going to be okay, tells Gemma to bring Enoch with them into the LMD lab. She asks Deke to come with her.
Right.
And they go in there and they basically explain to them, so, okay, this is what we need to fix the jump drive. And Enoch immediately goes, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And of course, Jim is going, well, I can't, how did I tell you about that? I don't even know what you're talking about. He said, well, we hoped you to remember, and this is what needs to happen, but we need to discuss this because it's,
right.
Or basically, and while they're sitting there talking about whether or not they should do it, Enoch just pulls out of his chest,
right,
and ready to hand it to Gemma. And they're all looking at him like, what would you, we kind of wanted to discuss it. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, I would like to believe that if Fitz was here and if he would do the same for me, I'd like to believe all of you would. With all that, but so he gives the device to Gemma, and Gemma and Deke.
That's not. I think they.
What? You think they would? Do you think they would sacrifice themselves for him?
I kind of do.
Perhaps they never had really an opportunity. I mean, they did leave the man behind in time, so I mean.
Well, that's true. So.
But
never mind.
But, well, I mean,
maybe I changed my mind on that. But no, I mean, he's sacrificed himself. This is the second.
Right. This is the second time he's basically have sacrificed himself, and in both cases, just to save the team.
Right.
So anyway, so they take the device to hook it up. In the meantime, now he's starting to feel the effects of removing it. So he sinks down to the floor, and Daisy and Coulson are with him, and he's sitting there talking about that. Up until he met this particular SHIELD team, he never felt lonely. He said, I've been alone a lot. Usually I prefer it. But in this particular, are you cheering on me? So he said, but I have never felt loneliness before, and I don't like it. And of course, Coulson is telling him that, well, you're not alone. We're here, and we're going to be here with you till the end. He said, I appreciate that, but the problem is you can be with me up till the end, but you can't go with me at the end. I gotta go. I will leave, and then I'm concerned if I will be lonely when I do that. And he goes, well, you're not wrong. He said, but the positive, this is Coulson, of course, telling him, of course, he knows all about dying multiple times. He said, the positive thing is it's short-lived feeling. He said, unfortunately, the people you leave behind are going to suffer more than you will. But they will get on it as part of, basically, in a sense, as part of living. And Daisy, of course, is watching and said, asking him if it hurt, and he said, no, it doesn't really hurt. But then it's when he started talking about the loneliness part of it. And he goes, basically, she thanks him. She thanks him. She said, you did this for us, and our team will be able to go on now because of what you've done. He said, well, that's true, but after you all will go on, but this will be your last time as a team together. Which, of course, it's the end of the show. Of course, it will be their last time.
Right.
Of course, then she's going, well, I don't understand what you mean by it. He said, well, I've seen the future, and this will be your last mission together. Said, so you want to cherish your time together. And she's going, well, that can't be because this is my family. He said, I know this is such a thing with families, that you have births and you celebrate those, and you have deaths and you mourn those. It's what happens. Said, no one is beyond it, apparently not even me. And she was right. So that makes you just no different than any living being. And you notice when she's saying that, she's staring right at Coulson, because Coulson is kind of dealing with that same dilemma. So, and of course, right as Enoch is dying, he mentions Fitz. And Daisy tells him, well, yes, and you've been a great friend to Fitz. You've been a great friend to all of us. And so he said, as I have always, and he doesn't finish it, he says, as I've always been. So right then, Deke had repaired the jump drive, and they jump. Now, if we gotten all that sad stuff out of the way, let's back up the truck to Daisy and Sousa.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Right. now, and this whole thing to me is weird. Just reading, people's comments from the internet. Some people have a real problem with Daisy and Sousa being
romantic,
right, being a couple. And again,
they're about the same age
right,
as they are together right now. It's kind of like a 200-year-old baby.
Right. I mean, and I don't, true enough.
Reference to another show we're watching.
Right. True enough, if you wanted to be technical about it, he's a lot older than she is.
But yet he's not. Because he's now with her. I mean, it doesn't, to me, if I met you when you were 18, when I was 18, because I jumped backwards in time, at least 200 years, because that's about where you would have been 18.
At that particular moment, I'm still 18 and you're...
Anyway, so...
Okay, that's wishful thinking. Okay.
Well, I got to hear all the time how old I am. Because I'm 9 months older. I just had to throw that in there.
Okay.
Again, cut this part out.
No, getting back to Sousa and Daisy.
So anyway, got no problem with that. I think it's quite cute. And he wants to be her hero.
Right. So, and it's right. See, and it's interesting, of course.
A hero to a hero.
During these loops, of course, she keeps waking up, and Sousa's sitting there. And during one of the loops, she asks him, "Okay, so he gets up and says, 'Hey, what you doing? You should be resting.'" And she goes, "Why do you care?" He says, "Oh, I care because you don't." Goes, "Okay." So eventually, she basically takes one of the loops and sits down and wants to find out. So, okay, so what do you, every time I ask you to do something for me, you do it. Why do you do that? He said, "Because I know people like you." He said, the people like you are some of my favorite people. And I'm pretty sure he's talking about Peggy Carter. He's talking about Peggy Carter there.
And all of them.
Right.
Really,
but basically he said, because you will tackle a problem to the point of running yourself right into a brick wall.
Right.
Because you don't like to lose. Said, and when you do that, there should be someone there to pick you up. And so she goes, "Well, so you want to be the one who picks me up?"
Or he says, "So you're the guy that does that."
Right. And he said, not for everybody. He said, "But if you speak your mind, and you might have this power where you can shape things," which is pretty impressive. She goes, "Well, that's really specific." So in the meantime, it's okay. So what can I do for you? So one of the next loops, he gets up. And she looks at him for a minute before she asks him tells him what he's going to do, and she kisses him.
Right.
And then she kisses him again. And I got no problem with that.
I thought it was awesome.
Right. I said, she can do a lot worse than to have somebody with old-fashioned manners.
For sure.
Basically.
That is an absolute truth.
Right. And who respects strong women, because he certainly does. I'm not sure what people's problem with it is.
Yeah, well,
I know there are some people who, for some reason, still wanted her to get with Deke.
What?
I don't. Yeah.
No.
Deke likes Daisy, of course.
Yeah.
That's to me. I don't see that. And I'm saying, hey, while he's still there and he's around why not? So anyway, just to take off all that sadness we're dealing with. So anyway,
yeah, that's bad.
So basically, they've solved their problem. They made their jump. Of course, Enoch is gone.
All right.
And the episode ends basically with our friend Nathaniel still trying to show Cora how to use her powers.
Right.
And people. I think it's funny that people sit there and say that Nathaniel was a horrible villain. So
Actually,
right at this point, I mean, he doesn't inspire a whole lot of fear in me, though he does have Daisy's powers.
He's got a bunch of powers. It looks like
now again, of course, we're going by what they showed for next.
Well, it looks like he's got teleportation powers, unless that was out of the picture.
No, that wasn't him.
Oh.
It was another guy where they was apparently giving him all their powers.
Mercy.
Now, why? I'm not sure what this particular guy did where they figured they needed to pump powers into him. But of course, we're jumping ahead there. That's in the next episode. Right. So basically, he shows, he gets Cora to try to learn how to use the focus her powers with a bunch of glass flutes full of water. She destroys them. And it ends with him telling him that her little sister is going to be really impressed by her, which, of course, is Daisy. So that's kind of where they leave it. So as much as I enjoyed Clark Gregg and Chloe Bennett's performance in this because they were funny as heck.
Yeah, they were. They were funny as
right.
hell.
And if it wasn't for what happened at the end, they might have been our performer of the week. But it had to be Joel Stouffer as Enoch.
Man, he was good. I tell you what, and I realize we only have a few episodes left, but I really enjoy him as an actor, as a person on this series. When they killed him, when they when they had to power him.
Yeah, in the fifth season.
Yeah,
when he sacrificed himself at the end of the fifth season.
I was really sad about that.
I didn't feel it though as much as I felt it this time.
Well, that's because his sacrifice at that time was, it almost felt inevitable. Like it had to happen. And this one,
and it almost felt well, it was earned because he basically put them in that position in the first place.
Kind of, sort of, and so
not kind of, sort of. He did.
Yeah, but never mind.
Right.
But anyway, I felt like his but his sacrifice at this time, he could have said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. Guess you're all gonna die."
I know what I thought it was funny because I mentioned here in my notes here that said that talking about Joel Stouffer's performance said that he killed it. He said actually he literally killed all kinds of people.
Yeah, yes, there was many deaths, right. But including his. So, though I will say though that that I'm gonna cry again. It was so sad.
So I've never seen anybody who could basically monotone their way into making you feel horrible for them. Joel Stouffer was definitely our performer of the week.
Yeah, and truthfully, Chloe and Greg and Clark Gregg both had. And that whole scene was.
There was a lot.
There was too much for me.
Right, so there was a lot that went on. Actually, even the scene where Coulson is talking about the fact that he hates to see how everyone die and everything, and that he's he's talking about that it hurt his soul. He said, I don't even know if I have one. And she goes, "Of course you have one." I said, "Don't say of course. You don't know if I have one or not. I'm a machine." But anyway, I said if it wasn't for a Joel's performance, then we would have probably split it between Chloe and Clark. But without a doubt, it was Joel Stouffer as Enoch. Now, as far as overall thoughts on the episode, of course, this was Elizabeth Henstridge's directorial debut, and
awesome! Rocked that one.
Right?
It was probably one of the stinking lousy best episodes of the entire series.
Right. I mean, which is saying a lot because they've had some really good ones.
Yeah, they have. And even season 4. Well, 4.
Season 4. Up alone, to this point is the strong point of the show.
Was a huge, fantastic. I love all the seasons. I've watched this whole thing 4 times. That is not a lie. That is so sad too. If you think about it, because that's how much time I have to watch. But anyway, of course I stay up till 3 a.m. So who cares?
But what it does do, I think, for as far as Elizabeth goes, it possibly gives her an avenue to direct, maybe things for Disney Plus.
I don't know.
I mean, they apparently are inviting
people on that Hallmark channel too. I'll tell you what.
Oh, well, that's sorry.
I hit the stinking loud.
Yeah, stop phoning my dad.
Sorry.
Okay, they invite a number of different people in to direct episodes of The Mandalorian. Maybe she could do one of those. She certainly proved herself.
That was awesome. That was all good. It was all good.
Yeah, she certainly proved herself capable of doing it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to her in the future as far as her directorial work. But just as we said, though, as far as where we're at right now, the Zephyr is safe, but Nathaniel's still being a pain in the butt. They should have killed his father back when he was a kid, and that would have eliminated all this stuff.
Yeah, no kidding.
But hindsight. So they still have to deal with him. Sybil must be still around there somewhere. I don't know if she's still on her TV or not.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead, ask me a question.
We still don't know whatever happened to Gideon.
You still are not getting off the Gideon train.
I want to know where he is.
We have not seen him again. We haven't seen him since '73. So
I want to know: is he dead? Did he get sent through the thing?
So if he were alive, okay, now I think they jumped in this next episode to '83, or back to '83. So again, that would only be another 10 years on to Gideon. So he'd probably be about.
Well, maybe that's when we find out what happens to him at this jump.
Right. And so,
because that's the last time we saw him.
No, I said, as you said,
right?
Until they prove it otherwise, I'm assuming that Nathaniel killed me.
I know.
I mean, because that would have been poetic justice.
But now, if they're going back to '83, wait a minute.
No, they're not really going back. They're basically staying, in a sense. Because even though, before they did this time loop jump, they weren't changing years. They were just moving forward, basically jumping in the same year.
Oh, like months.
Right. Just in place. So.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because they was going like a month. Or
right.
two.
And less.
And they were in September.
Right. And it was going each distance was shorter. Minute.
Okay, so 76 really was the last time we saw him.
No, actually, you didn't see him in 76. You saw him in 73. And then when they moved up to 76, all you saw was Nathaniel.
Then Nathaniel, right, by himself.
Right.
Oh, he's probably dead then.
Well, I mean,
anyway, I want to know.
Okay, you're probably the only one. But
I want to know where he is because he became such a pain in the ass later.
Right.
And he gave Grant Ward all his power. Well, not really Grant, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Never mind. Okay, let's stop this now. Okay.
So anyway, Sybil's still around. I don't know if she's still in her TV or they've actually made her actual body or something.
Yeah.
So we still got that. And after next episode, we got 4 left. And after next one, we only have 3 left. And the next episode is called Stolen. We don't know what all is involved in that, but we're going to find out this Wednesday.
Yeah, we sure will.
So that was As I Have Always Been, and it was, like I said, the best episode of the season. Really so they've got a high road hold to try to do better than that, which, to be honest with you, I kind of think as we get to the end, they're going to have to.
What?
To be better than the episode they just showed. They've only got 4 episodes left.
Oh, I don't know. I gosh, it's just, I don't know. I have so many thoughts, and I still want to know: are we gonna see? I'm hoping they better wrap that up because I'm gonna tell you what, they can't just leave that hanging.
And this is another thing talking about Enoch. They basically they just pulled out a component. They didn't mess with his brain or anything like that.
Yeah, why can't they put the component back in?
Right. If you find another component that would do for that matter, say you finish time jumping, pull it back out and put it back in.
Okay.
I think that's a possibility.
Okay. It does. It is. Well, sure.
I mean, it won't be the first time they've brought him back from the dead.
I don't know if they got to put him on ice, though, if his skins are...
I say, again, because he's synthetic.
I thought his skins were synthetic, too.
Right.
But why did the Chromicons need people's... Oh, never mind. They weren't really taking their faces. They were, but they weren't.
Right. I mean, basically, if you remember from the very first episode, where,
Yeah, he just took his skin off.
Took his skin off and laid it down so he could take his showers.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the heck with all that about. But anyway, so until our next episode, until Stolen, I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we'll catch you again on another episode of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Bye.
Bye.
Coffee Binge.
Bye.
Okay, welcome once again to another edition of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And have we done this before? Already? Once? No? Yes?
I think so.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
What?
I think that, yeah, because you were asking me about what I was going to talk about. Let's go.
Okay, welcome once again to another edition of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And it's, let me just do this.
I thought we just started this.
I thought we already did. I thought we already did the whole thing. Huh.
It's been our pleasure to present to you GVN's Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. We'll see you next time.